The Flash is one of the most iconic characters in DC, both in comics and on screen. The Arrowverse Flash, which was given a backdoor pilot in the second season of Arrow, has been on air for 6 years, and it doesn't look like it's going to slow down. See what I did there? However, over the last few years, I have been less and less interested in continuing this show. Just last year, watching Flash wasn't something I was excited for, and that apathy has only grown since. I kept up with it because of the crossover. I heard that they were really focusing on the crossover, but now that that's over, and with no new crossover in sight, one thing is for sure. I have stopped watching The Flash. Let me explain. I honestly don't remember the last time I was impressed by a Flash villain. I think it was season 2 with Zoom. Season 3 had Savitar, who was Barry himself, and a whole lot of time travel hijinks. And then there was DeVoe, I think, and then there was the Dagger guy. One thing I have heard a lot about the DC superheroes is that they are made by their villains. And the last 2 seasons have had poor villains. And this season has something even worse. A scientist who goes mad trying to do something because a loved one dies trope. And Ramsey's descent into villainy was just so easy. Like he was following a script. There isn't complexity and nuance to these characters anymore. Even the heroes. The Flash as a whole feels a lot paint by numbers. Let me give you an example. The Cicada storyline. So this guy, little girl, can't be beat because any meta in their vicinity are completely useless because their dagger dampens metahuman powers. Good. Except we have guns. And of course Barry won't kill them. But this team has invented all kinds of crazy shit over the years. Are you telling me that the stun gun would have been too difficult? There are a lot of scenes where any member of the team could be doing something to catch the bad guy, but they just sit around waiting for Cisco's new doohickey to do the job for them. Like in the scene where the dagger is nowhere near Mr. Cicada, why doesn't anyone knock him out or put him in handcuffs or something other than just standing around like fools? Even if it fails, attempts were made. Also, what is it with Barry punching people? He's a speedster who can do other things. He doesn't have to be Oliver Queen. There is next to no need for physical violence in this show, and yet almost every episode Barry is punching someone. You don't need to do that, dear. Also, dear Barry, let Killer Frost fight Cicada. She's a much better fighter, and oh, there it is, her powers do not get dampened. All throughout the show, I have never thought of Barry as a physical fighter, but there he is, throwing punches. Okay, the science on this show has been ridiculous since the beginning, but lately, everything seems to come too easy to the team. Maybe it's just me wanting to see more science from Barry than punches, because that's who he is, primarily a science nerd. But I rest my case. A big reason why I think the latest seasons have been weak is the Barry and Iris thing. We all know the highly memed line from season 4, "We are the Flash," and it was then that this show started to lose my interest. I get the parallel with DeVoe and his wife and Barry and Iris, but it all feels, at least from an audience perspective, so stupid. And Barry, for some reason, keeps coming up with these really awkward and stupid lines to describe their love. "You are my lightning rod." Anyone? Some might think it's cute, but God damn it, it's so weird. Like, what does that even mean, Barry? Huh? Barry? What does that mean? Barry and Iris as characters are strong, and in moments that they shine as individuals are great, but when you put them together, it doesn't fully work. And the creepiest part, and I will take this to my grave, is that Barry and Iris are step-siblings. The only storyline that I genuinely want to follow in this show is that of Caitlin and Killer Frost. And they seem determined to not let that happen. The concept of their dual existence in just one line is far more interesting than whatever's happening in the West Allen household. Now that Frost is in the driver's seat, is Caitlin just chilling in her mind? What does she do if she is? How does this thing work? It's so much more interesting than anything else. All I want is a Frost-centric episode from her POV, with Caitlin commenting in the background. Is that too much to ask? In the early seasons, Cisco was one of my favorite characters, easily. But lately it seems like he has become a shell of the person he used to be. He's always complaining about something or the other. How everyone else messes up, how he wants to be with his girlfriend, about not wanting light powers, and he just isn't fun to watch anymore. Mostly I just want to get through his scenes to get to whatever the hell it's next. The whole of the first half of season 6 built up to Barry dying, which we as the audience know isn't going to happen. So why even do it? So when Barry talks about how the team has to go on without him, we don't feel the weight of the situation. It feels like people acting out a serious play. None of anything that Barry does in preparing his team for crisis actually pays off. So why have we spent months focused on the crisis? Especially since everyone dies anyway. If they had killed Barry, this Barry, in the crisis, and we know that he would be resurrected eventually, if we had seen the team working without him for even just a little while when the first half of the season would have paid off. Imagine that. We have been expecting Oliver to be the one who dies, but Barry does. The shock it would have been to the fans, and the internet would go crazy. Even from a PR perspective, it would have been amazing. Killing him just before the break, maybe killing him later, maybe he comes back in the crisis, maybe an episode or two later, maybe a changed man, maybe not. Either way, it would have been a far better storyline. As it is, the first half seems inconsequential. Just a side note, the color of the suit gets more and more unbearable with each episode. I get it. He is the Scarlet Speedster. Doesn't mean his suit has to be hurting my eyes to be looking at it scarlet. You could turn it a dimmer scarlet. It's still red. Also, it has the strangest texture on the neck area for some reason. The Flash is a decent show, and I think it could be much better. There is potential. The passion of the early seasons 1 and 2 can be revived again if the writers just try harder to make it a good show rather than putting characters on pedestals and molds. Show us some Dark Barry or Dark Iris and make them have consequences. And as I'm recording this, I remember that Joe and Cecile are also a part of the show. The cast has gotten so big that these characters can be pushed out of the narrative to give more weight to the core characters. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do you agree? Tell me your thoughts on this in the comments. Like and subscribe. Sending love. Toodles!